is Sophie Bauer. I'm with the Office for Advancement. I helped Johan organize all of this. So just a couple of quick housekeeping things. On the tables are a QR code. They go to our donation page, so you're able to donate that way. I also have an iPad here that you can do credit card donations, and we'll be passing around this beer pitcher as well, so you can do cash donations. The Story Slam is a fundraiser. Johan will talk more about what all that money is going to, but just remember that it is all going to the students, so we would love for you guys to give generously to that. We have a couple of people who have signed up already online, but we did have a couple issues with our RSVP form, so if you do not hear your name called, that does not mean that you can't do it. We'll go through the people who have RSVP'd first, and then we'll do open mic after that. So everybody just feel free to come on up, tell a story, and thank you so much for being here. And one last thing, we will be selling techie hijinks comics in the back. If you are interested in that, you can see our lovely student worker Summers over there and purchase one of those. So I'm going to introduce Johan Lindig. She is the brains behind all of this, and she will tell you all about it.
Thank you so much, Sophie. Give it up for Sophie. She arranged and has done this whole thing, and it's starting to feel like we're in a groove, right? Oh, and if you didn't get the message, this is a fundraiser, and in order to sweeten the pot for you, I want to announce a couple of challenge donations. So the first one is for $1,500 from my best friend Brian Davis here. Woo-hoo! He's an alum from 1984. Sorry, he beat me. I failed to say that. Okay. And I am also going to match Brian's commitment. So if you can donate today, your $3,000 will be matched. And let me tell you a little bit about where the money's going. So we're trying to support students who either are chosen to attend or chosen to present at scientific conferences who can't afford to go. So we have like 500 graduate students here now. Many of them are doing amazing research and they need to be able to publish. And so we're raising money today. Half of whatever we raise will go to support women, hopefully men too, maybe women, to go to some professional conferences for people who can't afford to pay their way. The second part of the donations are going to our friends over here at KTEK. So I don't know, how many of you listened to KTEK when you were here? Yeah. How many of you may have been a DJ at KTEK when you went to school? This is awesome. So the band is getting back together. David, I'm going to give you a chance to have a chat here for a second, but he's got a great team here today. They're going to tell you a little bit about what KTEK is doing. They have a YouTube channel, and I know they're generating local news for the Socorro. But anyway, I'm going to let David tell you a little bit more about that. Before I do that, can I just go over the rules? And I'm not trying to be a rule keeper. Okay. All right. So basically, a story slam is based on the concept of a poetry slam. And if you are interested, moth.org has a lot of connections to poetry slams, but the rules are the same. And basically, it means you have to tell a true story. You can't tell fiction. Now, you may elaborate. Yeah, you may be a little hyperbole in there. That's fine. They should be about your time at Tech with a nostalgic theme, right? That's why we're here, is to relive our old days and think about the people and the things that we did. They must be told, not read, no notes, no cheat sheets, and they're going to be timed. But I want the first line to grab attention, okay? So think about how you want to start to grab people's attention. Know your story well enough so you can have some fun with it. Don't meander. We don't do stand-up routines, no funny stories, no rants, no fake accents, no essays, and then we're just going to be civil and respectful. I don't doubt that there will be some profanity. If that is offensive, I apologize in advance, but we're not going to slander people, and we're not going to show Tech in a really, really bad light. So that's all the rules, no more than that. Every story will have 5 minutes, and we have a timekeeper here who's going to give you 1 minute and 30 seconds. So be aware that we're going to cut you off. because we want to have time then for you to make a donation and or show your appreciation for the story. And again, yes? Oh, yeah, but I'm going to let David talk about that. So this event is being recorded. KTEK is live today. I'm going to hand it over to Dave Koshkin, and he's going to tell you what they're doing here, and you're going to hear more about KTEK a little bit later.
Hello, thank you all so much for coming. Real quick, I'll just give you the spiel on this, and then I'll introduce our great team. So, unfortunately, we're not going to live stream it just because of Wi-Fi issues not reaching out here. But it is recorded, and it will be on the KTEK YouTube channel for you guys to find afterwards. So yeah, and then also I want to thank my team who came out here. Aaron on the camera, Lauren on the camera, Jack on the camera, Jaina running the stream, and Sean doing the camera switching. They're really great, and we really appreciate you guys coming out and helping us fundraise to keep KTEK going. So if we can get a round of applause for all of them. Thank you. Yeah.
So the other thing I forgot to tell you is not only does this come with bragging rights, it comes with a traveling trophy. Now, so far, oh, don't be laughing at my trophy. It's a good trophy. It's a great trophy. So far, this trophy has been owned by the alums. That's us. However, this year, I'm hoping there might be some students to try to take it away. That was at least our intent with getting KTEK out here. So we want to hear some student stories, but we also want to hear, let's hang on to this thing, shall we? Shall we hang on to this? So before we go too much further, I do want to announce, I had just got some news during the break, while David was explaining some KTEK stuff, that my $1,500 has already been matched. I would like to thank one of my fellow alums, Anna Perry. Thank you so much for your generosity. So, but we still have $1,500 that needs to be matched, and I would like now to introduce to you the MC for the afternoon. He's famous in Socorro, but we are lucky to have him here. So may I introduce the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences at New Mexico Tech Institute of Mining and Technology, and the best sponsor of every student thing going on in this school, Steve Simpson.
Yep. Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
So, as you could tell, I'm not Frank Etzkorn. I'll try. Frank Etzkorn is typically the MC of this event, but for various reasons, he's not able to join us. However, we want to send a message out to Frank. He'll be watching the video. So we're going to go to that camera, and it's got to swivel around, and I want everyone to give a huge hi, Frank, however you want to do it. All right? You ready? Go for it. Hi, Frank. We love you, Frank. We won't take your patent. So, as Johan said, the idea is you come up here and you give your best story. And I have to say, she's rooting for the old timers, but I'm rooting for the students. Yeah. I want to hear a really good, at least one really good story from a student. All right, so start thinking about it. I have in my pocket here list of folks who signed up in advance, but as they said, as soon as we exhaust those, it's open mic, and everyone is free to give a story, one at a time, though. So we're going to actually start. Oh, and before we get there, few instructions. Okay. This is a microphone. Okay. Yes, it's on. Everyone comes up and says, "Is this on?" Yes, it's on. But here's the other thing. That's the pointy end. Okay. So when you hold a microphone, you hold it like this. What happens when people tell stories? And then you can't hear them. Okay, I've seen Frank Getz score and hold a microphone like this. Okay, and also we have the people who say, I have a loud voice, I don't need one. No, you need one. All right, so a lot of noises. To start us off, we have Willie Clark III. Willie Clark III? Okay, that's Wally Clark III. That's Sophie's handwriting.
Is this thing on? Okay, so I started in New Mexico Tech in 1971, and I had the opportunity to work at a place called Terra, which I think you guys call Emertech now. Terminal Effects Research Agency, who knows? So, first day on the job. You go out there, we get in the truck, 6 kids, 7 kids, 1 adult. We pull up somewhere on the side of a hill. The adult gets out of the truck, says, come on, we all get out of the truck. And he says, I need you to pick up these little pieces of brown and yellow material off the ground. And none of us are very experienced, and most of us are age 17, 18 years old, so we don't know what we're picking up. So we keep picking them up, putting in a box, picking them up, putting in a box. Luckily the box was cardboard. This is important. Why? After we're finished picking it up, somebody said, what are we picking up? We're picking up little pieces of trinitotoluene. TNT. An interesting beginning of my working at Terra. I saw lots of explosions. So I told you that story, so I can tell you this story. A year or so later, still at Terra, we set up an explosion and a bunch of targets around where we're going to put a bunch of TNT. We had airplane wing, we had an old dead Caterpillar tractor, we had several pieces of sheet steel. Well, sheet's the wrong word. 1 inch thick, 3 foot by 3 foot squares set up on tripods. There were several of those. And then just for fun, there were some cubes of steel, about 1 foot by 1 foot by 1 foot, all set up on tripods. And we saw these out there and we said, what are we going to do with these? And the guy says, well, we're going to bring out a bomb, blow it up, and see how the bomb disperses these targets. So as the bomb guy's coming out, all of us young folks, the students, leave, we get in a truck, we go up on top of a hill, and we look down at the target area. Target area is down there below us, maybe a half-mile distant, 300 or 400 feet below us. And we think, this is great, and we go into a blockhouse. Now, I don't know if anybody ever has been in one of these blockhouses out there. I see one head nodding, another old guy. And you don't look directly at the target. You look into a mirror, which is at a 45-degree angle, which then goes to another mirror, which is another 45-degree angle. So you're looking out at a periscope, and nothing can hit you because the blockhouse is made of concrete slabs that have all been put together. So we're in the blockhouse, listening on the radio, watching what's going on. They set up the bomb. They make sure everything's where it wants, take a lot of photographs, make sure everybody knows where every target is and where the bomb is. Over the radio, we hear fire in the hole. Right about that time, our boss assigns to each of his students, look at this, look at this, look at this, tell me where it goes. Turned out that was a joke, because as soon as we got to 3, 2, 1, 0, everything's completely obscured with dust. So it doesn't matter what you were trying to see, it's gone because of the dust. And then instantly you feel the ground shake. The shock wave hits us. And then we hear the explosion. And we all just stand there. And we're still continuing to look, and the dust starts to dissipate. And about that time, the blockhouse kind of moves. And the boss says, let's take 5 minutes. Now this was 1971 or 2, so we all had a cigarette. And then we went outside. We went outside to look at what had maybe hit the blockhouse. And we found evidence coming from the target zone up the hill of where one of these 1-foot cube pieces of steel had skipped up the hill and hit the blockhouse, took a chunk out of it, and then continued down the way. So, was it fun? Yeah. Did we learn things? Yeah. And I will tell you that I spent my career looking at explosive effects.
Thank you, Wally. Up, go get your mug. All right. Next up, we have Bob Knight. Bob Knight. There we go. Oh, you forgot your beer. Why don't you go up and get your beer?
I drank, I'd had one. My name's Bob Knight. I'm a CS department graduate in 1976. When I got here, there was a 360-44 computer. I'm going to talk about the travails and triumphs of early computers at TEK. So the bell started to ring, and then the gong fell apart in pieces to the floor. The 360-44 bell disintegrated. Bruce Denning and I looked at each other and laughed. We wouldn't have to listen to that bell while we debugged our Snowball program. It turns out that in Snowball, on the 44, you could do output, but you had to rewind the console to get it to take input. And rewinding the console rang the bell, and we'd rung it a bunch of times. Chuck Sargent, the customer engineer, IBM customer engineer, was not amused. But he was also a little bit interested in how we did it. So this is a series of vignettes. And another one is the 360 had a bunch of lights on the front panel. And we decided, some students and myself, and I was a student of course, that they needed rearranging. So we did that. Now the 360 had a lamp test button, and we did a lamp test. And some of the lamps melted. So they were differing voltages and couldn't stand the heat, as it were. So we'll skip ahead to 1977 when TEK got a 2040 computer. And that was courtesy of Dave Haas. He bought a Digital Equipment Corporation DEC System 20, and it brought true time sharing to TEK. Well, the first thing that needed to happen was physical plant needed to supply 188 amps to that beast, 3-phase power. And they started to do that, and all of a sudden, all the lighting all the electricity in the machine room essentially went dark. I went into the machine room, and here's a physical plant guy, and he is white as a sheet. He'd gotten a hot leg crossed with ground. And the breaker, of course, tripped, and he got lucky. So the next thing that was interesting about the 20 is it had a tape drive, one tape drive. And Dave Tarbox took data from thunderstorms, and the tape drive would not read his tapes. They got a lot of parity errors. So Dave's research was basically at a standstill because of that. Well, Bruce Frampton, the DEC CE, came up with a solution. He researched and installed a switch that turned off parity checking on the tape drive. And Dave was a very happy man after that. It was called the Tarbox switch thereafter. So the next vignette In 1984, I was hired as computer center director for some reason. I don't know why they made that mistake. At any rate, Pat Buckley of Terra, now EMRTC, regularly perused the government surplus lists, and lo and behold, a 20 showed up. General Atomics was to it, and they're from Ohio. And so we went to President Latman with hats in hand, virtual hats, and explained the situation. And he immediately placed a phone call to Senator Pete Domenici on Domenici's private line. Domenici answered. Latman introduced us. We explained the situation, and Domenici immediately said, "Let me talk to Howard," and hung up. Well, it turns out that Howard was Senator Howard Metzenbaum from Ohio, the senior senator. And he worked his magic, and the 20 was ours. So the next thing was to go out and see if it actually would work for us. So I went to Gaithersburg, Maryland, and it was 4 stories underground in an ex-Nike missile base, anti-aircraft base. And it had been CompuServed, and by that I mean the bulk supply power requirement had gone from 188 amps to just under 100 amps, which is a good thing, of course. And they had made some other interface changes to accommodate different disk drives than DEC supplied. So it looked good to me, and a couple of months later we took delivery, and that became Terra's machine. So we now had 220s. And time-sharing consultants in Tucson, Arizona, Ernie Huber, donated a megaword of Ampex memory to TEK. Bruce Blevins and I, the physical plant, hooked up the 3-phase power to it without a vent, which was good. And Bruce Blevins and I proceeded to, with some trepidation, turn it on. We turned it on, the breaker tripped. And that was bad news. So after some concerned cogitation, we decided that the capacitors in the unit had discharged and the inrush current was too much for the breaker. So the second try actually worked, and we had more memory on one of the machines. We ended up networking those machines with the Computer Science Department 11750 VAX and each other, and we finally had a TCP/IP network in basically the mid-80s, which was pretty early. TCP/IP had been moved to the ARPANET in January of 1983, so that was relatively recent to that. The 20s ended up with 3 megawords of memory apiece, which was a lot of memory for them. Basically, it's 12 megabytes and 700 megabytes of disk. And they lasted until 1987 or thereabouts. And I regard getting the second 20 as an accomplishment. It really worked out. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. All right, our next story slammer is none other than the story queen herself, Johann Linden.
I think I got scratched by a dinosaur out there on the parade.
I just want to tell a quick story for those of you who are feeling very humble in your intelligence right now after hearing from Bob.
So my story's not quite as academic, but when I came to school here, I had never been to the desert. I'm from Mississippi. I'd never left home.
So one summer, or actually, I think it was probably right about the end of school. My boyfriend and I, we decided we would take a little backpack trip behind Strawberry Peak. Has anybody ever been back behind Strawberry Peak?
It's really nice back there, right? It's kind of a steep canyon walls. It's a sandy bottom.
So it's really nice to sleep on. There's obviously some sort of a fault rift because the two different walls are different beds. Anyway, so we pack up our backpacks and we hike out there and we set up, we're not setting up a tent because it's, you know, it's going to be beautiful and we're just going to sleep in the canyon. It was really hot. It was very hot. So those sleeping bags were probably underneath. So we had a lot of bug bites because you can't, I mean, it was too hot to cover up and there were lots of bugs. I had just settled down to sleep with my sleeping bag and I hear the pitter-patter of little feet. And then the little feet run across my legs.
And I sit up screaming, "He's on me! He's on me!"
I don't even know what it was to this day. It was either a lizard or a rat. Let me tell you, that was the end of the sleep. So now it's hot. We wake up. We have to hike back to campus. And then we did what I consider the genius of the trip. This was a very smart decision. So there was no water back there. We actually had expected maybe to find a little water that we could filter and drink. No, so we only had the water we brought. And we decided, wouldn't it be a great idea if we mixed all the water we had left with pink lemonade and then put wild turkey in it?
So there we
Here
are.
we are, dying of thirst, drunk, tired, hot, hiking back, and what do we come upon? What do we come upon out in the desert out there?
Between here and Strawberry Peak, a rattlesnake, right? So instead of walking away from the rattlesnake, I believe the rattlesnake was killed and that became the trophy for the trip.
Well, let me tell you, it's a beautiful hike. Watch out for rats. Absolutely. And take some time if you get a chance to get behind Strawberry Peak.
All right, thanks so much. So we have at least one more story.
So thank you. So one of the things I wanted to mention, for those of you who are telling stories, you're going to get some swag. The swag says Athena Scientifica. What is Athena Scientifica? Athena Scientifica is a scrappy, but small but scrappy group of awesome women alum from New Mexico Tech who are trying to make things better for students today and especially easier for women to get into STEM. So if you have a desire to get involved, that's our fundraising kind of arm. And I'd love to have you join our list, and we get together and we cause good trouble and we try to make sure that women have what they need to go to school at Tech and be successful. So thank you.
Okay, Steve, take it away.
Thank you, Joe. Johan. Yeah, I'll tell you what, so I'm not from the Southwest, I'm from Pittsburgh. We don't have rattlesnakes running down our road there. We have other things, I guess. But here, I actually get rattlesnakes on my front porch when the pizza delivery guy comes. So right now, the local Domino's considers our house the rattlesnake house. So our next up, Jim Ruff.
Thank you, Steve. Well, I came out here to Socorro in 1986 to work at the VLA. And at that time, I was halfway through a master's degree in electrical engineering, but back then they didn't offer electrical engineering at Tech. But they had this thing called a Master of Physics with an instrumentation concentration. And so I signed up for that. And I had to take quite a few classes, and I thought I was all finished. I'd gotten through the whole thing. We were playing with 8086 processors and other little dinosaur accoutrements. And as I was just filling out my graduation form, someone in the physics department realized, oh, this guy doesn't know any physics, which was true. I'd last had physics about 15 years before then. And I said, well, the heck with it. I've had enough, I quit. But I had wonderful advisors back then, Bill Wynn, Bill Rasan, Paul Crable. And they cut a deal with the physics department. They said, if this kid can pass Albert Petchek's 500 level quantum mechanics class, we'll give him the degree. So I signed up for it. And I didn't understand a word that was said throughout the whole class. Particularly, one day we're sitting there in class and he's on the board and he's drawing this 5x7 matrix to multiply a 3x6 matrix. And just something that just does not work. And I raised my hand and I said, Dr. Petchek, would you mind carrying out that operation? Because I just don't see how you do it. And he says to me, this is only a theoretical construct. We do not carry out the operation. Okay. And in spite of my pretty much total lack of understanding of quantum physics, I managed to pass the class and get my degree. So I have to thank my advisors for that. Thank you.
Curiosity, how many current students do we have out there? Raise your hands. Okay, so we have some. So here's the thing. I want at least one of you to tell a story at some point. And I don't know, I'm a teacher, so I might call on you. So start getting your brain going. We're at the end of the list of people who have signed up in advance, but I'm sure there are still plenty more stories out there. So at this point, and we have someone, a saltwater hippie, wanting to come up. What's your name, sir?
Randy Hansen.
Randy? Oh, of course you're Randy Hansen. All right. The rest of you start thinking of your story.
I'm the other Randy Hansen. The famous Randy Hansen does an incredible imitation of Jimi Hendrix. Plays the guitar left-handed, everything. Got to see him.
The other one got a Grammy.
Yeah, well, I'm working on it. So this story is called Operation Dice Throw, and I was the first tech student to do a co-op position up at Los Alamos Scientific Lab, and one of the weird things that I ended up getting to do was a life-threatening backpack trip to Lake Catherine, because what had happened the day that they exploded the bomb at Trinity site, that there was there was fallout that went this way, north, and there was a rainstorm over the Sangre de Cristos. And so we ended up going up there and almost killed ourselves. Had to actually literally climb out the cirque and whatnot. Lake Catherine was completely frozen over. We were going to try to sample it and so on. But anyway, we got samples. It was never made public, but we found traces of fallout in the soil samples and the various critters that we had trapped and whatnot. So I was very piqued and interested in the whole Trinity site thing and whatnot. And as I worked for Chuck Chapin over at the Bureau of Mines, he would farm me out to various grad students, and one of them we were mapping all the rocks on both sides of the Rio Grande Rift. And we ended up in the Sierra Oscuras, and they were buzzing us with jets because we were climbing up the side of the cliff and collecting rocks, which is obviously a security threat. And so anyway, so I digress. It was troubled times, political times back then, just like now. And we had, out of kind of a joke, we had started a society here at Tech called the Weathermen. And being ambitious people and studious and whatnot, we also made up business cards. And so one of the things that they were starting to do down at White Sands is have non-nuclear explosions, because they could do subsurface stuff up in Nevada and whatnot, but they want to do some testing to see how a lot of their equipment survived and whatnot. So they had this explosion that was going to happen called Operation Dice Throw, and it was a 10 kiloton explosion. And so somehow they ended up getting word to New Mexico Tech, and they said, oh, students can come down and view it if they want. And there weren't many takers, but my dear friend and colleague, who's unfortunately not here today, Francisco Apodaca, we were just a couple old hippies with long hair, and we had our Weatherman business cards, and we said, well, let's just go on down there and watch the big boom. And I had curiosity because of my previous experience on that. And so we went on down there in the pitch of dark, you know, and we get to the guard station at White Sands, and they said, okay, well, who are you? I said, we're the Weathermen. and the guy goes, oh, okay. And so he gives us a pass. Incredible security. And so then we start to drive off, and another set of MPs in a Jeep comes sliding in, doing a Brody in front of our sedan, and stops us and gets out and goes, where are you guys going? And we hold up our pass. We're going to Operation Dice Throw. And he goes, oh, okay, well, you got to park way down there by that auditorium and roll down all your windows so they don't get blown out. And there'll be a bus to pick you up. So, and it's still dark out, right? So we go down there, roll down our windows and whatnot. We get on the bus, and we're with all these admirals and generals from all over the world, right? So then they have a viewing stand, a platform, and a map. They have a map of all the stuff that they're gonna see if survives this 10 kiloton blast. And so the charge for the thing is just like, I think it was about 100 feet tall of fuel oil, and they put an ammonium nitrate core down through it with a huge crane. And so we're watching that, and I'm out there with all these admirals and generals from all over the world. So I start going over the map with them and showing them where everything is that's going to get blown up and whatnot. And then they were flying a Huey helicopter from a bunker. So it was crazy. And so they're all kind of paying attention, and here's this hippie telling them what's going on. And they had the blast. It was scarier than hell. Had a huge mushroom cloud. The ground rippled. There was the whole pressure blast and whatnot and all that. And then the smoke cleared, and the helicopter was still flying, although all the windows were shattered. There wouldn't have been anybody alive in the damn thing. Everybody's cheering because the helicopter's still flying and whatnot. And then they bring in a B-52. And I've never seen a B-52 do barnstorming before, but they flew the B-52 right through the mushroom cloud and whatnot to do air sampling and whatnot and all that. And I was like, whoa, okay. And I've been to some air shows. We have a famous one in Miramar in San Diego, but I'd never seen anything like that. So it was quite exciting. So then we all got back on the bus, and we were supposed to go to a debriefing. And Francisco and I just looked at each other and go, we're not going to, they don't want to hear from us. So we kind of snuck off to the side and got in our car and rolled down the windows and left White Sands and started smoking something. And that was Operation Dice Throw.
Thank you, Randy.
What's going on at KTEK, David?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about what KTEK does super quick, and we'll get back to the stories. But, so we do the news for Socorro and for New Mexico Tech right now once a week, but we're still trying to grow that. And then we're also doing a show called the City of Socorro Show, where we have people from local businesses come in and kind of try to promote Socorro, because you guys know Socorro's kind of small and yeah, the local business situation's not great, and it's just, we're trying to find a way to kind of up business a bit in Socorro. So, yes, so to watch us, you can ask, if you see any other KTEK people and need clarification, ask them, but what I'll tell you is go to YouTube, and if you type in KTEK, K-T-E-K, and then space NMT. It'll pop up. It says live from the 575. So check us out there. And then we also have internet radio run by Jack over there. He's the head of that. Yay, Jack. And we have it running 24/7. We have an automated one that runs at 24/7. Then we also have student DJs, so that's really cool. I think we can get an alumni email sent out with the link to our internet radio, right? Yeah. We'll send out an alumni link. We'll have the YouTube and the radio. We'll send it out to you guys. So, again, thank you so much for coming. This is way more people than we've ever had come to one of our events. Thank you, guys.
You know, oh, we have a
St. Pat story.
Oh, your St. Pat story. Well, you'll need to come up and tell it. What's your name?
My name's Charlie Jurek.
Okay. Okay, so a couple announcements. There are chairs. They're going to bring them out in case people need more chairs. And of course, feel free to lubricate yourselves. If anyone can tell someone with a Capital Bar shirt to put another beer on Steve Simpson's tab and bring it out, he would love that. he likes Jailbreak IPA. And the other thing to think about, I know that there were a lot of former KTEK DJs out here, and I'm sure that these folks want to hear your stories. So that could be a perfect, just planting a seed. All right? So, go ahead.
So good afternoon, everyone. How many of you people have participated in St. Pat's? You know that it is like a week of semi-mayhem. So there's, it's to honor St. Pat, who is the patron saint of mining. And our representative for the year that I went through was a gentleman some of you might know. I call him the human bookie. His name is Rex Moneymaker. So Rex is St. Pat's. I hear him having a conversation with someone, and we had these things called shillelagh fights. How many of you remember shillelagh fights? Yeah, they're kind of like mayhem, and there's a stick about 3 feet long, about 2 feet and 2 inches in diameter, and they're painted green, and you have teams, and the teams will gain points by doing various things for upperclassmen. You earn little green pennies that are painted green, and various things. There's a rock you have to find too. But anyway, I digress. Going back to the shillelagh, I hear Rex go, oh, I'm gonna take it over and throw it in that nasty pond over by West Hall. There used to be a little pond in front of West Hall, in front of the old cafeteria. So I hear that and I go, okay, we set up a deal. There was the old windows in West Hall would fold open. So what we did is we figured out, I would dive in, get the shillelagh, it would go in one window, my room was on the other side, it would go out and we would go out to someone and we would win the shillelagh, no fight. Wrong. So the shillelagh goes in the water, I pull it out, we have a little fight, gets into the window, goes through West Hall, but everyone's smart, they're going around the other side. Well, someone gets the shillelagh and it goes into the back of this yellow Dodge Power Wagon. And 4 of us pile in, me being one, and representatives from other. Gentleman takes off driving like a bat out of you know where. So we go down an alley just right off campus. We go down and we're getting slammed and we're still fighting on with the shillelagh in the back of the truck. Next thing you know, go around the corner, there's 2 cars following us. So he tries to lose 2 cars. Next thing you know, there's 4 cars behind us. We go out and we go around campus. We go out past the president's house. I don't know if you've been out there. There's some really nice curves there. One of the cars actually was a truck with a camper shell on it. So we are going like a bat out of hell. There's this Hollywood chase going on. There's all kinds of cars. We're going through these chicanes. All of a sudden, we stop fighting over the shillelagh. It's not worth it. We're getting beat up in the back truck like pennies in a shoebox. So we kind of give up and we're watching what goes on. And the guy that had the international pickup with the camper shell goes around one of the corners, goes up on 2 wheels and goes for a little ways, and then falls over on the side. So we all go, well, this isn't worth it, let's stop. And about the time we start to pile out of the truck to go help the guy right his vehicle, a friend of mine that I'd gone to junior high, high school, and tech with, goes screaming by in his car with this look of terror on his face. So we go right the guy's truck. We all decide we're gonna sneak back to campus and everything will be cool. So we get back to campus, I see my friend and I go, what the hell? Why were you going by us? What was wrong? He goes, I lost my brakes. Oh my God, I lost my brakes. I couldn't stop.
So we get back to campus. 3 hours later, the Socorro police show up.
They look for the gentleman that owned the pickup, and he got a ticket for for poor driving. And that is my best St. Pat's story that is honest to God true, and I told it to the best of my ability. And I'm sure, I wished I could talk to people that were following us or the driver of the truck, because it was like being in a Hollywood movie chase.
It was great. That's my story, and you know what? I want to say this is my problem.
Ted. I was on the rugby team. I was also in student senate. I was helped put on 49ers as the entertainment officer, and I was also a DJ for the radio station for a while. So I learned a lot, I did a lot here, and this is a great place to go to school. I'm glad that I have all you people to count as my family.
Thank you, Charles. All right, who's next? Up, we have two. Go. You're first, and then you're next. What's your name?
Greg Curtis.
Greg Curtis.
So these are going to be kind of non-academic stories as well. My first story, it's the end of finals, the very last night after finals, spring semester of 75. Okay. How many people in here know Rob McAlpine? A lot of people. Okay. Okay. So I'm in my room in West Hall, and you know I've done my last final. I'm getting ready to get all my stuff together to move off campus from there, and there's a knock on my door, and it's Rob McAlpine carrying a case of Michelob beer. He goes, "I know you have an ice chest. Let's fill it up and go drink beer." And we said, okay. And there's virtually nobody left at Tech. This is the night after the last session of finals. So we're, and my ice chest had wheels. So we're dragging it around campus and we're drinking beer. We're going to all the buildings and we're out by the duck pond, Turtle Bay, and all that kind of stuff. And we kill off this case of beer, okay? So we're straggling back to my room in West Hall, and Rob goes, "I'm too drunk to go home. I'm going to just crash in your room." Okay, that's fine. Right after that, he trips over his feet, falls down, and hurts his foot. So he's going, "Okay, we'll make it back." We make it back to my room. He lays down on the floor, and I'm in my cot or bed, whatever you want to call those. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, he's shaking me awake. He says, "I'm really, really drunk and I can't sleep because my foot is killing me. We have to go to the hospital." Okay, so we pile into my old car and we go down to Socorro General, and of course, you know, there's nobody working at the hospital at night, you know, at 3 o'clock in the morning. So they put us into an examination room while they call the on-call radiologist and doctor in to take x-rays and see what we need to do. And we're in there, we've been in there about 20 minutes, and you know, we're kind of walking around looking at things, and there's a cabinet in there, okay? And the cabinet is unlocked, okay? And inside this cabinet is a 1-pound bottle of Mallinckrodt pharmaceutical cocaine hydrochloride. And we just look at each other back and forth going, do we or don't we? Do we or don't we? Leave it at that. And then, how many people in here have actually spent some time in the Socorro jail? I know there's a few of us here, right? And I was reminded of something last night by Dave Thomas. I was telling somebody a story of how I ended up in the Socorro jail, and Dave Thomas walks up and goes, "Oh yeah, I remember. Remember how we used to pass you joints through the little hole next to the window?" And it was true. He was one of probably a half a dozen people that came by while I was in there and just take a straw and push a joint through this hole. It is good to have friends. So those are a couple of my stories.
All right, thank you. And again, students, your time is coming. Keep thinking. We're looking for student stories. I'm looking at you. It's your closest. All right, what's your name?
Steve Dixon, alias Harvard Bernard Folsom-Work, with an umlaut on the last name. Closer? Okay, Harvard Bernard Folsom-Work. Remember, Randy? And you have that umlaut that's on there. Now, the story I have is, I came to Tech because, one, it was cheaper paying out-of-state tuition at New Mexico than to pay the fees that Ronald Reagan decided to charge in California just to go to a state university. But when I came here, we had a party the one night, and I was telling a friend that I had met, all I had was one joint on me and 5,000 hits of acid. And that started off the year. And so when you would go to the Tin Can on Friday night, the first 4 rows were generally toasted. And, the cost was $20 for 100 lot, because I got them for like 5 cents a piece out of Berkeley. It just started off the Colgate era, and we had a very fun time. And reefer raffles. Reefer raffles was, you put a number in the bag, you get a number. They pick a number, and then you have to smoke all the numbers. That's pretty much what we did. Now, I also went to college and got a degree, but we had a good time during those years. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Takers, who's next? Oh, you have one over there. And your name's Mark?
Mark, yeah, Mark Sproat.
There we go.
All right, testing. So I'm chemical engineering 2000, and when I came out of school, had an environmental minor, wanted to go into environmental engineering, but there wasn't anything out there. Oh, better? Okay. This is my first time on stage, unlike Randy Hansen over there, so a little intimidating. Anyhow, I wound up working as a research engineer for EMRTC my first 2 years here. I've hesitated telling this story for many years because I didn't want to put tech in a bad light. Let me just say our safety culture in 2000 was a lot different than it is today. So I used to work in the UN and DOT safety testing division up there. So if you're going to transfer anything over the highway, you have to characterize its energetic properties. So that orange placard was us, pretty much. So we had drop tests, static tests, cook-offs, and I would do something called the Conan test. Now the Conan test is a little tube of quarters basically, and you either pour liquid in there or you pack powder down in there, and you put a collar on it from 30 millimeters to down to 1. And what you do is cook this thing off, and the stuff would shoot up out of this hole, and depending on how that tube breaks and at what diameter, would give you some idea of its energetic properties. Now my boss had confused this, I found out later, as nitroglycerin tablets. That's mostly sugar. We've done hundreds of tests on different nitroglycerin tablets. So he says, cook this off, start at 3 millimeters. He wanted to skip 27 tests. Well, it wasn't nitroglycerin, it was oxymycin, which is an antibiotic powder. Now we had skipped the cook-off, we'd skipped the static test, we'd skipped the pressure testing. We went straight to the Conan test. And this is a powder, so I'm in our Connex. They shipped me 30 pounds of it, If you haven't characterized something, you can't ship more by federal law 5 pounds. So I had 30 pounds of this in my hot Connex in the sun at Little Eagle and Big Eagle, which is right behind the M up there. So I argued with Marvin. I said, it's oxymycin. Look at the chemical structure. There's oxygen all over the place. But I was always asking Marvin I'd read the SDS, and I was always asking him, hey, this is a fluoride compound. It's recommending breathing apparatus. Could I get some supplied air up here? And he was always like, I was constantly annoying him with safety demands. So when I told him, hey, this is oxymycin, look at the structure, there's oxygen all over the place, this is a potential to be explosive. And he's still thinking nitroglycerin. And my annoying little research engineer that keeps asking for safety things. So the Conan tube is a very precisely refined tube, very expensive, and it's designed to split or break in two or what have you at a certain diameter. And again, that's how we would characterize it. Well, for powders, liquids are easy. Just pour it in there, there's a cap that goes on it, and a hole and another hole for a thermocouple in there. And we'd set it on the rack. And the apparatus was a little U-shaped, half-inch hardened steel plate and 2 3/8-inch hardened steel bars. And you would set the apparatus on that, and you had burners that came in from underneath, from the back, and each side, gas. And there's a pilot light there. So normal procedure was you go in there, you set it on the stand, you close the bunker door, go inside, turn on the computer with the thermocouple data, turn on the video camera, and then you would hit the gas. So I did all that with this stuff. Well, first I'm in the Connex, and the thing is you got to pack that powder down in there, right? You don't want to do that with something you haven't characterized yet. It could be static sensitive, it could be shock sensitive. You don't want to be pounding a powder in a tube unless you've done all the other tests. Well, this was nitroglycerin tablets, so just go ahead and start with this. Well, of course it wasn't. So I'm packing this powder in there, and I put the 3mm orifice on, go in and turn on the computer, turn on the video camera, but I always would get a cup of coffee before I would start the gas. And normally, you start the gas, and you wait a little bit, and it starts shooting out of that hole, and nitroglycerin tablets would just flame out. It would do nothing. But if it was energetic, it would start to sputter, and then you knew it was going to go. So you kind of had some warning that this thing was going to go. So I turned everything on, got my cup of coffee, flipped the switch to the gas. My finger was still on the switch when it exploded. My coffee cup went across the room. I just, was not expecting that at all. So I went in there, opened the bunker door. The apparatus was destroyed. It had gone through hundreds of tests. The bars looked like jail bars. There were holes in the half-inch hardened steel plate. And the Conan tube wasn't split, wasn't in half, wasn't in 3 pieces. It had vaporized, it was gone. There was no tube. And the collar that holds the plate with the hole in it was concave upwards. You couldn't use it again. I looked at that, and I ran to my Chevy S10, got in it, peeled out, almost wrecked going up to Big Eagle, got in Big Eagle's bunker, and called safety and said, I have 30 pounds of high explosive in a hot Connex in the sun. And it just did something I've never seen before. I said, close mountain. I said, don't let anyone up here. I want you to come up here in the armored vehicle with water after sunset and wet this down and get it off the mountain. Now, needless to say, I mentioned the pilot light. The second flame touched that tube had a very energetic explosion. So if I had been a little careless and got near that pilot light, I wouldn't be here. I would not be here. So those were the days we still had gas stoves with pilot lights and stuff. Everything's piezoelectric now. You just hit a button. And so I made a recommendation back then to change this test to piezoelectric and get rid of that pilot light. So I think I made a little bit of difference there, but it's something.
We're glad you're still here. Get your mug. Wow, those cars are really noisy right now. All right, who's got another story? Oh, wait a minute. We have a student. Come on up. Our first student. Yeah. What's your name?
Aaron Madrid. All right, is this thing on? I can talk flat out. I'm just kidding. How many of you guys lived on campus when you guys were here at Tech? Yeah. So did we, our first semester here. And I don't know how it was back then, but all love to residential life, but we did not enjoy it very much. We got off pretty quick. We didn't make it a whole semester until we found somewhere else to live. And so this is a story about one of our first events at our new house. So we got a group of 6 people, and we all moved into this 5-bedroom house. And rent was cheap, not up to code. It was a great house. Loved it. Loved every second of it. And one of the best features of the house is it had a pool, an indoor pool. Where can you find that in Socorro? That's pretty rare. One caveat, pool didn't have any water in it. So we had a concrete pit in the middle of our house, and man, we thought that was the coolest thing as freshmen. So many opportunities. And so, what do? You clean it out and you have a dinner party in it. Why not? So, of course, we get some buckets, we get some mops, we're mopping it out, it's filthy in there. And there's drains at the bottom, so it's like, it's all good. Water doesn't drain. Great. So I get sent to Walmart, I get a shop vac, we vacuum it all up. Perfect. Get some tables down there, mismatched chairs, whatever we can find. A ton of pasta, just made some really bad spaghetti, burned to... And so we sit down there, we get all of our friends, we get a huge dinner party. Everybody's having a great time. We finish eating, and somebody says, I want to dance. Okay, we're dancing at the bottom of the pool now. Clear out all the tables. So we carry all the tables out, and I'm up there at the top, and I'm looking, there's these little drains on the floor at the top of the pool. They're kind of, they're wet, and I was like, we didn't wash up here, like, did you guys spill something? No. So I was like, that's weird. Get the shop back, hose it up, water comes right back out. That's weird. What's going on? So David here, living there, he pops open the grate, and out comes toilet paper and raw sewage from these top grates. And it starts filling this pool. And so we're like, okay, no more dancing in the pool. So we all go inside and start watching a movie, and I start rethinking my decision to move off campus.
Oh, okay. We have Johann has another story. Oh, yep, we'll get to you in a second.
So I want to give Advancement a little time to tell us, Tally too, but okay, great. So here's my story. How many of you never heard of Rocky Mountain oysters until you showed up in Socorro, New Mexico? You're lying. You are all lying. So I never heard of them until I got to Socorro. I had no idea what they were. And then I found out that one of my friends who lived in West Hall had a
different gourmet treat. It was called turkey fries. I think it was from like Indiana. Where do they eat turkey fries? So his parents came to visit. They brought him some frozen turkey
fries. So they were in the freezer, in his refrigerator in West Hall. Now, do you guys know what happens in the dorms between semesters or over the holidays unless you've made previous arrangements? They turn the power off. So I cannot tell you the smell. When Ross Pearson showed back up, he was in some big trouble because those turkey fries had rotted in the refrigerator. They couldn't figure out how to clean the smell. Here's a pro tip. The way to clean the smell of the turkey fries out of the dorm is with douche. That's correct. Buy about 100 bottles of douche.
And it will get rid of the smell of turkey fries. But you know, I don't know who thinks of that shit. All I know is it worked.
So Do we have a tally? Thank you very much. Thank you. It works for what?
Skunks too. Hey,
We're getting some pro tips here. Do we have a tally of the fundraising, Sophie? Okay.
Oh, delightful microphone. Okay, so we've made $385 in cash and $3,505 in credit card donations. That means we still have $1,000 of a match left to go. So if we can get there, that would be really phenomenal. Thank you guys so much for your generosity.
Thank you so much, Sophie. Thank you much. Okay, I know we have a couple more stories. I know Joanna, I think there was one back here. Please come forward. Come on down. You're the next contestant in the Story Slam. Come on, David. What's your name?
Patrick Sylvester.
This is Patrick Sylvester. Thank you, guys.
I've been in Socorro a long, long time. My parents moved here in 1949 when I was born. My father, Dr. Howard Sylvester, was head of humanities here for many years, yeah. And during HUAC, I don't know if many of you don't know because you weren't born, but there was the House Committee on Un-American Activities being part of what our history was at that time. And there were loyalty oaths. Sound familiar? And my father told me this story. He was in the library with Dr. Martin Pierce. Dr. Clay Smith was there, Dr. Barbara Wilkening, and the phone rang. And Martin Pierce picked up the phone. Hello? Yes, we know who he is. And it was the FBI. And he said, yes. Who does he associate with? Well, us! Thank you.
I remember seeing one on Facebook where they had gone and alphabetized all the elements on the periodic table. All right, so now Bishop is actually graduated, but because he's close enough, I'm gonna take him on Team Student. So this is Bishop Cervantes.
Hi everyone. So I started at Tech during COVID back in 2020. So we have, some interesting stories from that. So I'm gonna tell you guys my first time meeting one of my best friends, Logan, and in the same night, meeting Townies. So it's the summer after my freshman year, so campus is dead. Double whammy because it's COVID. So I'm hanging out in the house. My best friend and roommate, Vicky, he comes, he's like, hey, I've been going to jiu-jitsu. I met these guys, they seem really cool. They wanna go drink tonight. Like, do you wanna come out? Whatever, sure, let's do it. I need to get out of the house. It's been a boring summer. Too many video games.
So we walk over, I think they're staying in Alta, so we walk all the way across campus and we meet up, and there's just like maybe 17, 16 people in this one tiny little apartment. So we go in, I take a seat, and then I see the one who he described as Logan, this tall, dorky guy.
And, I take a seat and we're like saying what's up to people, and the first thing he says to me is like, nice posture, man. Sitting there like that, I'm like, okay, thanks, I appreciate that. So then the night goes on, and he has a whole bottle of Southern Comfort, which I'd never tried, ever. So we're downing it the whole night, and that was fun. So we, I guess, get up as a group, and we walk over to the golf course. And I started asking him, like, oh, where are you from? I was like, oh, how'd you meet these guys? He's like, I have no fucking clue who these guys. And I was like, what do you mean? And then another friend comes, he's like, oh, they're high schoolers. I was like, we're hanging out with high schoolers right now? I was like, oh, like, how'd you find them? He's like, oh, they're walking around campus. So we started hanging out. So we go over to the 14th hole on the golf course, and that one has a nice little green, there's water, and a big old bunker. So we're in this big group, and me and Vicky are in the back like,
This is interesting. We don't know any of these guys, what's going on? And all of a sudden, we hear, oh shit, and we see one of them light probably the biggest firework I've ever seen and toss it onto the green, and in that moment, it was a little scary. So we started running, and we jump into the bunker and bury our heads, and we hear, boom! And that was it. We left. Actually, that was...
Campo started looking for us with spotlights on ATVs, but Then we left.
Thank you. Now we know where that extra hole came from. All right, we still have some time if anyone else has a story to share. Oh, okay. We have a short one over here, and then we have another student story. Great. Great. Brooke?
Yes, bro. I have some other Ross Pearson stories, but this one is really short. This one's really short. Ross had a turntable that was really solid. His dad built it. His dad's a physicist. And it had two motors, one to make it go at a constant speed and one to start it. But if you started it on your own, you could make it play backward, okay? And so one day, I'm coming back from Weir Hall, and I'm maybe about Kramer, and I can hear music, and it's getting louder and louder and louder as I go back to West Hall. Louder and louder and louder as I get back to West Hall. And I recognize it. It's Sammy Hagar, Radar Rider, okay? But it's not a version I've heard before. It's not the heavy metal soundtrack. It's not the one off of his, I think, 3 Lockbox album. And I get to the dorm, and he's got the first room on the right as you go inside with the dancing frog on the door. And from the old Warner Brothers cartoon. And I go into his room, wanted to see what's on the turntable. It's actually the same. It's heavy metal, but he's playing it backward. Radar Rider is the same forward and backward.
All right, we have a... They found me. So we have another student story. This is coming from Jack Nation, which in my opinion is the best radio name I've ever heard in my life. Jack Nation.
So I don't know if you guys know me, I'm Jack Nation. So, my full name is Jack Ryan O'Brien Nation. I don't know if that was a prank that my parents pulled on me when they were like, how do we make his name the fun, like Jack Ryan, sneak a little spy action in there, or secret agent, I don't my voice is a little hoarse, I apologize for that, but this story is one of my favorite stories that I've had of tech. It's called Baby's First 49ers. So, when I was coming out of high school, I was a nerd. I was pretty tame. And so when I came here, I was like, it's gonna be a tame college, I had no idea all of the history that I've been hearing today. And then the first few weekends, it was like party after party after, I was like, oh, this is great, like, I gotta tell my friends about this. And I'm originally from Santa Fe. And so for 49ers, I'd heard so many past stories about 49ers, of how it's the big weekend. And I was like, oh, well. So I call up 3 of my friends, and I'm like, you guys gotta come down for 49ers. I heard that it's insane. It's gonna be the best weekend ever. And it was one to remember. So they come down, we go out to dinner, we're kind of hanging out in the dorm, and then we're in Torres Hall, which is one of the newer ones, and we're hanging out, we're having a few drinks, kind of not really paying attention, kind of just waiting around until we go to this like dueling keg stand party. And we get there, and the night just goes on, and the drinks keep going, like I'm sure you guys are all aware. And at one point, I lose track of all 3 of my friends. I have no idea where they are. And I walk out into the street, and all 3 of them are just lying down, just like laughing, cackling, like rolling around. And I'm like, all right, like it's time to go home. Gotta get these guys back to the dorm. And I was a freshman during this time, so I was terrified of everything. I was like, we gotta dodge all Campo, we gotta dodge every single RA, we gotta make sure we're in and out, like, super clean. And we were not. So, my friend was driving, and we're driving back from the party, and he was our DD, and I swear to God, we pull in to the last turn before we get into the parking lot and get everybody safe. And my friend sitting in the middle seat just goes, and like tries to book it out and throws up all across my friend's lap, up the side of my door, onto my window, and out of it. Literally, like it was a straight line. I swear, it was the most impressive thing I've ever seen. And so I'm like, all right, like, I'm sitting in the trunk at this point, like getting a third-person view from back here. I'm like, okay, well, this is gonna be fun to clean. And so at one point, that friend then takes the thrown up and throw up person back up, and I'm taking my last friend who is like passed out. Like, I'm trying to shake him, just trying to get him up, and he's like, you know, kind of rolling around, just kind of trying to get himself. And we go and we're sitting down in the front of the bench, the front bench in Torres, and I'm like, all right, like, take your time, it's gonna be okay. We're gonna be able to get back up there.
And he's like kind of sort of coming to, and all of a sudden these two people are walking by, and I'm like, oh, these two people are just coming back from the party. And it's these two RAs that just all of a sudden show up, and they're like, hey, what's going on here? And I, you know, I am also just as plastered. And so the only thing that I can come up is with, yeah, he's just really tired.
And they're like, uh-huh, does he know where he is? And I go, I mean, honestly, in Socorro, I didn't even know where I was, like. And they're like, well, you know, if he's really, really tired, then we gotta call a campo officer to come check on it. And I'm like, oh my God. Like, gotta come, you know, like, I get it, but just one little thing after the next. And he comes and checks on him, you know, asks his name, whatever. And so they're like, all right, like, you guys are okay, like, but we're gonna walk you back up. And so we go back up to our dorm, and as we're walking in, it's like the most comical thing. I open the door, and one of my friends is passed out. The other one is changing his pants. And the last one, who had just been interrogated by the campo officer, just like flops down. And it's just like half a bottle of vodka and probably like 20 beers that are all just sitting in this circle of like some dude pulling his pants down, some dude already passed out, and other guy just flopping down. And I start freaking out. I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna lose my scholarship. Like the next morning, I'm like, I'm never gonna drink again. I'm like, I will DD, I will never do anything. I'm gonna lose. Never heard about it. Never heard about it ever again.
All right. Well, it's getting to be about that time. And let me just, this is what's, you know, up for grabs. And oh, let me sweeten the deal. I have candy from the 49ers parade that'll... Wow. You don't get any better than that. All right, so I know some of you might have trouble remembering all that you heard. So this is the part, I have only names written down. I'm going to go back and see if I could remember the premise for all of the stories, just to remind you, and then we're going to do a vote by cheering or clapping, but let's get them all in our memory first. So the first one was Wally Clark III, not Willie, and I remember it was stories about his time at Terra. Is that correct? Yeah. We'll clap, let's get through them all, and then we'll go back and, okay, Bob Knight, this was all of the stories about computers at New Mexico Tech. I didn't understand most of the jargon, but it was a good story. Jim Ruff, this was, he came to work with the VLA and passed a class by, who was the name of that physics professor? What? But, yep, that one. All right. All right, then we had Aaron Madrid, and that was you, and that was the pool of yucky stuff.
Effluent.
All right, effluent, there we go. We had Johan Lindig. Oh, I missed a couple actually. We had Randy Hansen, and Randy somehow found himself amongst generals and really high-ranking people. The Weathermen, yes. Charles Jurek.
St. Pat's.
St. Pat's stories, there we go, thank you. Steve Dixon, and 5,000 hits of acid.
Winner!
Mark Sproat, And I remember a lot of things about nitroglycerin. Aaron Madrid, that was the pool of poo-poo. Yep. Well, we're not to him yet. I just lost my Johan. You're not in the running? Okay. Patrick Sylvester. And that was the House of Un-American Activities Committee, right? Joanna DeBrine, that was Jacqueline O'Kennedy. Or Jacqueline O'Kennedy, Jackie Kennedy. I think I mixed up a couple names there. Bishop Cervantes, and that was Hanging with the Townies. Brooke King. That was a very small, short one. Sammy Hagar. Oh, Sammy Hagar backwards. Right. And then Jack Nation's Baby's First 49ers. Okay, so here we go. And when we get to you and when we get to the names, we go strictly by the amount of applause. And I guess we'll probably have to have a runoff too at some point. It's a People's Choice Award, and you are the people. All righty. So let's start. Willie Clark III. All right, Bob Knight. Jim Ruff. Randy Hansen. Charles Jurek. Greg Cardos. Dave Thomas. He's not in the running though. Steve Dixon. Okay. Mark Sprout. All right, one of our first students, Aaron Madrid. Patrick Sylvester. Joanna DeBrine. Bishop Cervantes. Brooke King. And Jack Nation. All right. So we need to come down maybe of our top three. What do you think? Randy had a pretty...
Randy, and I would say Mark's blow-up story, and then I think Jack.
Jack. All right. So we have a possibility for one of the students to take the prize. All right. So here's our runoff. Let's start with Randy Hansen. And Mark Sprout. Jack Nation. Uh-oh. You know what? I think we have our first student winner. Come on up. This goes to Jack Ryan O'Sullivan Kennedy Nation. The winner, I think you have to give that back at some point too. We need that for next year.
Yeah, but he needs to get a drink out of it first.
Oh no! Well, it just makes, this has been in the KTEK studio all week. So it's already got a home there. Might as well keep it there for a little bit longer.
Thank you so much. So congratulations. I want everyone to know the students have taken it, but for next year, we got to get back. There's some great stories out there. I can't thank you all enough for coming. Thank you so much for your generosity. And drink some more beer. Have a great rest of your 49ers. Thank you so much.
And make sure to come back later tonight The Foolish Professors start at 8 o'clock, and we go until we either run out of songs or we fall over.
And then one more time on behalf of KTEK, I want to thank you guys all for your donations and everyone for coming. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, KTEK. Thanks to the advancement and alumni. Folks, let's give them a round of applause. Do we have a final total of what we got?
Yes.
Okay, total's coming. We're waiting.
Hey, before everybody blows out of here, there is $60 left in my challenge that is unclaimed. Please do not let this $60 go unclaimed. Thank you so. All right, Kevin Donovan.
So what's the final total then? Okay. We're techies. We should do the math quickly.
I think he had it off for a bit.
My arms are so small. Maybe after like 30 minutes. It feels light when you pick it up, but
We're still waiting?
We're doing the math. We're doing the math. $6,000.
$6,000 we raised. Let's give it up. All right. Enjoy your 49ers.